The Story of the Wedding Dance by Amador Daguio.
Awiyaw, my husband. I did everything to have a child. Ilaya ko ng ka. Look at my body. Then it was full of promise. It could dance. It could work fast in the fields. It could climb the mountains fast. Even now, it is firm, full. But Awiyaw, I am useless. I must die.
Awio reached for the upper horizontal log which served as the edge of the head-high threesome. Clinging to the log, he lifted himself with one bound that carried him across the narrow door. He slid back the cover, stepped inside, then pushed back the cover in place. After some moments, during which he seemed to wait, he talked to the listening darkness.
Ampon, this had to be done. I am really sorry, but neither of us can help it.
The sounds of the Ganges beat through the walls of the dark house like the muffled roar of falling waters. The woman who had moved with a start when the sliding door opened had been hearing the Ganges for she did not know how long. The sudden rush of the rich sounds when the door opened was like a sharp gush of fire in her. She gave no sign that she heard Awio, but continued to sit and moving in the darkness. But Awio knew that she heard him, and his heart pitied her. He crawled on all fours to the middle of the room. He knew exactly where the stove was. With bare fingers, he stirred the covered moldering embers and blew into them. When the coals began to glow, Awio put pieces of pine wood on them, then full, round logs as big as his arms. The room brightened.
Why don't you go out and join the dancing women? You should join the dancers as if nothing has happened.
He looked at the woman huddled in the corner of the room, leaning against the wall. The stove fire played with strange moving shadows and lights upon her face. She was partly sullen, but her sullenness was not because of anger or hate.
Look at Lumnai. Go out and dance. If you really don't hate me for this separation, you should go out and dance. One of the men will see you dance well. He will like your dancing. Pakawigan kanin. Who knows, but with him, you will be luckier than you were with me.
I don't want any men. I don't want other men.
You know very well that I won't want any other woman either. You know that, don't you? Lumnai, you know it, don't you? You know it, Lumnai, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I know.
It's not my fault. You cannot blame me. I have been a good husband to you.
Neither you can blame me.
It's only that a man must have a child. 7 harvests is just too long to wait. Yes, we have waited too long. We should have another chance before it is too late for the both of us.
You remember how angry you were once you came home from your work in the terrace because I butchered one of our pigs without your permission? I did it to appease Kabunyan because, like you, I wanted to have a child. But what could I do?
Kabunyan does not see fit to us to have a child.
Lumnai looked down and unconsciously started to pull the terratan that keeps split bamboo flooring. The gong of the dancers clamorously called in her care through the walls. Awia went to the corner where Lumnai sat, paused before her, and looked at her bronze and sturdy face, then turned to where the jars of water stood piled one over the other. Awia took a coconut cup and dipped it in the top jar and drank.
I came home. I came home because I did not find you among the dancers. Of course, I'm not forcing you to come if you don't want to join my wedding ceremony. I came to tell you that Madulimay, although I am marrying her, can never become as good as you are. She is not as strong at planting, not fast in cleaning water jars, not as good keeping a house clean as you do. You are one of the best wives in the village.
That has not done me any good, has it?
He put the coconut cup aside on the floor and came closer to her. He held her face between his hands and looked lovingly at her beauty. But her eyes looked away. Never again would he hold her face. The next day, she would be his anymore. She would go back to her parents. He let go of her face and she bent to the floor again and looked at her fingers as they tugged softly at the split bamboo floor.
This house is yours. I built it for you. Make it your own. Leave it as long as you wish. I will build another house for Malitumay.
I have no need for a house. I'll go to my own house, my Lucas. They will need help in planting the beans, in pounding of the rice.
I will give you the field that I dug out of the palaw during our first year of marriage. You know I did it for you.
I have no use for any field.
He looked at her, then turned away and became silent. They were silent for a time.
Go back to the dance. It is not right for you to be here. They will wonder where you were, and Madulimay will not feel good. Go back to the dance.
I would feel better if you could come and dance for the last time. The Gangas are playing.
You know that I cannot.
Lumnay, if I did this, it is because of my need of a child. You know that life is not worth living without a child. The man have mocked me behind my back. You know that.
I know it. I will pray that Kabunyan will bless you and Madulimay.
She looked at his face with a fire playing upon his features, hard and strong and kind. He had a sense of lightness in his way of saying things. How proud she had been of his youth. The muscles were taut and firm, bronze and compact in their hoodoo. He was too strong that she had lost him. She flung herself upon his knees and clung to them.
Awiyaw, my husband. I did everything to have a child. Ilaya ko ng ka. Look at my body. Then it was full of promise. It could dance. It could work fast in the fields. It could climb the mountains fast. Even now, it is firm, full. But Awiyaw, I am useless. I must die.
It will not be the right to die.
I don't care about the house. I don't care about the fields. I don't care about everything. I have no other men.
Then you'll always be fruitless. Then you hate me. If you die, it means you hate me. Nobody will come after me anymore. If I do not try this second time, it means I'll die. Nobody will come after me.
If you fail, if you fail this second time, no, I don't want you to fail.
If I fail, I'll come back to you. Then both of us will be together. Both of us will vanish from our tribe.
I'll keep my beads. Awiyaw, let me keep my beads.
You will keep the beads. You keep them, Lumnay. They are worth 20 fields.
I'll keep them because they stand for the love you have for me. I love you. I love and have nothing to give you.
She took herself away from him, for a voice was calling out to him outside.
Awiyaw, they are looking for you at the dance. I am not in a hurry.
The elders will scold you. You better go.
Not until you tell me that it is all right with you.
It is all right with me.
He clasped her hands.
I do this for the sake of the tribe.
Awiyaw!
He stopped as if he got hit by a spear. He turned to her. Her face was in agony. It pained him to live. What was it that made a man wish for a child? Suppose he changed his mind. Why did unwritten law demand anyway that a man to be a man must have a child to come after him? And if he was fruitless but loved Lumnay, it was like taking away of his life to leave her like this.
Awiyaw, the beads!
He turned back and went to the farthest corner of their room, to the trunk where they kept their worldly possession, his battle axe and his spear points, her betel nut box and her beads. He dug out from the darkness the beads which has been given to him by his grandmother to give to Lumnai on the beads on, and tied them in place. The white jade and deep orange obsidian shone in the firelight. She suddenly clung to him, clung to his neck as if she would never let him go.
Awio, it's hard. It is hard.
She gasped and she closed her eyes and buried her face in his neck. The call for Weo from the outside repeated. Her grip loosened and he buried out into the night. Lumnai sat for some time in the darkness. Then she went to the door and opened it. The moonlight struck on her face. She could hear the troughing of the Ganges coming to her through the curtains of the other houses. All the houses were empty, that the whole tribe was at the dance. Only she was absent. Tonight, all the women counted who once danced in her honor were dancing now in the honor of another whose only claim was that perhaps she could give her husband a child.
It's not right. It is not right. It is not right. How does she know? How can anybody know? It is not right.
Suddenly, she found courage. She would go to the dance. She would go to the chief of the village, to the elders to tell them it was not right. Awia was hers. Nobody could take him away from her. Let her be the first woman to complain, to denounce the unwritten rule that a man may take another woman. She would tell Awia to come back to her. He surely would rally. Was not their love as strong as the river? She made to the other side of the village where the dancing was. There was a flaming glow over the whole place. A great bonfire was burning. The Ganges clamored more loudly now as if it was calling for her. She was near at last. She could see the dancers clearly now. The men lived lightly with their Gangas while circling the women. Her heart warmed to the flaming call of the dance. Strange fear in the blood welled up, and she started to run. But the gleaming brightness of the bonfire commanded her to stop. She stopped. What if somebody had seen her coming? She did not have the courage to break into the wedding feast. Lumnai walked away from the dancing ground, away from the village. She thought of a new clearing of beans which Awiyao and she had started to make only 4 moons before. She followed the trail above the village. When she came to the mountain stream, she crossed it carefully. Nobody held her hand, and the water in the stream was so cold. Slowly, she climbed the mountain under the trees and shrubs, the moonlight above. When Lumnai reached clearing, she could see the village blazing bonfire. The clamor of gongs were calling her. The sound did not mock her. It seemed to call her, to speak to her in the language of unspeaking love. She felt the pull of their gratitude for her sacrifice. Her heartbeat began to the sound of her like many Gangas. The mountain clearing was cold in the freezing moonlight. The wind began to stir the leaves of the bean plants. Lumnai looked for a big rock on which to sit down. The bean plants now surrounded her, and she was lost among them. For more weeks, a few more months, a few more harvests, what did it matter? She would be holding the bean flower, soft in the texture, silken almost, but moist where the dew got into them. Silver to look at, silver and light blue, blooming whiteness when the morning comes. The stretching of the bean pods full length from the hearts of the wilting petals would go. Lumnai's fingers moved a long time among the growing bean pods. The